getting these opportunities to interact with that character, whereas usually actors and actresses on their press tour, there's like a distance between them and their character. You know, a tough moment where Karen called out Sally and people, you know, creating these skits. And again, it's moments we've all experienced in some sort of way when you're like, I shouldn't be in the room. Like, this feels too full of tension.
The beauty of the journey that you go down is that at all times throughout this call, you're constantly thinking to yourself, like, was this staged?
You can imagine that 18-minute Zoom call is sitting on a slide deck somewhere, like where that was the powerhouse piece. They were like, we're gonna build this around this Zoom meeting.
I have no business following Kylie. I don't follow Kylie. But when she's at the Knicks game with Timothée Chalamet, because I'm into basketball, and now I'm like, holy shit, Kylie's into the ball. Like, you're bringing these audiences all together, and it's Marty Supreme. Have you heard?
I've heard from you.
Exactly. Because I cannot stop talking about it.
I know.
So let's dive in. So for those that might not know already, Timothée Chalamet of June and other acting success and pop culture success, of course, is doing a movie called Marty Supreme. It comes out on Christmas Day. Do you know the backstory?
Not really.
Okay, so I'll give the brief of that, but what we're going to be diving into today is the genius around the marketing, how revolutionary it is, because they're really, you know, shifting into some new territories with this strategy.
Yeah. It puts things like the Wicked press tour to shame.
Yes.
Like, there's a lot of good memes that come out of that.
Yeah.
But this is just incredibly creative and incredibly with the times.
100%. I couldn't agree more. So with the way that this came about, he met the director something like a decade ago, right? It was a long, long time ago. And the director at this party showed him a poster of a old, I think it's like 80s or something, don't quote me on that, but an old ping pong player, like, dude, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, would you ever be interested in playing this character? Excuse me. His story's really interesting. And Timothy looked at it and he was like, dude, that guy looks like me. Fast forward, he literally installed a ping pong table at his on set. Like, when he was out shooting Dune, he was practicing ping pong every night. When he was out shooting his next movie, he was practicing ping pong every night. He's taken this ping pong table everywhere he goes. It's a non-negotiable,
Method
right?
acting
Yeah,
to the
we've heard about
extreme.
Mariah Carey's needs when she's like going like in her green room.
Yes.
She needs like 13 doves and 16 chocolates. For Timothy, it's like, I need my ping pong table.
Yeah.
And no one even knew, but this guy is like training for this role. Right, so first of all, you've got an actor who is insanely passionate, which off the rip is like, how can you not want to go and watch this performance as a result of that? Number one, right?
Which he's been unapologetic about as well. That's been his real personal brand statement to the world of like, I'm not afraid to say I want to be a legend.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
very cool.
Yeah, and who yeah, you've got to champion that, right? Like, so off the rip, we're off to a good start, right? Then you combine the fact that, so then they go out, they shoot this movie. Now we're getting into how do we creatively promote this movie? And the cool thing here is that he's like taking it on his shoulders, right? Like, he is the marketing agency at this point. And so with that, he's bringing in some really creative angles. And for me, and we'll get into some specifics, we've got some notes here as well to guide us through, because I know I could talk for 4 hours about this. But the volume of touch points here is what's so incredible, because you bring in his relationship with Kylie, which we'll get into. You bring in the other people in the movie, from Tyler, the creator, the actress whose name is escaping me, but she's popping right now because she was in I Love LA, which is popping right now. So you bring in Gwyneth Paltrow, you bring in all these different touch points from a personal side of things. Then we'll get into some of the specific strategies that they're doing, which expands these touch
Streetwear,
points.
all sorts.
And have you heard of SD Kid?
Just.
Okay.
Just enough.
So this is even crazy. How this guy has the time to do all of this, I don't know. But there is a rapper in the UK, in Liverpool, that is blowing up online, and he wears a mask, and everyone thinks that it's Timothée Chalamet.
Do you?
For the record, I don't even know if it's possible. I don't know. I'm not going to stamp my claim on that.
Coincidental?
Yeah, he's doing like a press tour in the UK whilst SD Kid happens to perform that night in the UK
One of
as
the
well.
biggest up-and-coming male actors, and he just so happens to look like this.
It's crazy, but whether it's him or not, he's playing into the hype, and so he's doing a UK tour right now. And like 2 days ago, he's on all the radio stations, and they're like, "Is this you?" And he's like, "All will be revealed." Like,
And you
it's
would,
just hype,
right?
hype, and you're just
Yeah.
buying into it. And so even if you've never heard of Marty Supreme, you're now into music, so you're now going to, like, he's hitting all these angles.
There's no way to miss it.
No way to miss it. Like, if you're a film fan, you want to follow the actors that study their craft so much that they're going to take a ping pong table with them for 6 years to learn for this role, right? Check. If you're a music artist and you're into UK grime and hip hop and it's being talked about, like you can't miss it if you're into music. Mm-hmm. So now you're getting inceptioned into Marty Supreme through this, which has nothing really on paper to do with it. Mm-hmm. If you're into fashion, I mean, we're going to peel back all these layers, but you've got Kylie, you've got Hailey Bieber, you've got Tyler, the Creator, you've got Tom Brady wearing the Marty Supreme jacket. Mm-hmm. It's genius on a whole nother level. I don't even know if it was like mapped out ahead of time or if they're just rolling with it. And
I'm sure it's both. It often is, right? There's unpredictable moments that happen along the way, and that's where you've got to have those smart strategists on your team ready to kind of capitalize. Mm-hmm. But it's incredible. It's like you're being introduced to Marty ahead of time. And that's what I love as well, is you're getting these opportunities to interact with that character, whereas usually actors and actresses on their press tour, there's like a distance between them and their character. They're talking about, doing justice to that character and what they think about the character. But it's like the elephant in the room type feeling of like, yeah, but the character's not in the room with us. And it's like, Timothée is bringing him right in the room. You're starting to understand how he interacts with things. But again, you don't know the story. So now you're already interested in, like, if he's here running this Zoom meeting, what's the backstory? What got him there?
100%. So let's dive in, because we've got some notes here, and the frameworks that we're going to introduce are through the lens of our frameworks and how we see things from a philosophical standpoint and why they fundamentally work, right? So let's first of all unpack old game versus new game, because you touched on the Zoom call, right? Which is so new game in general, right? Like, the way of meetings these days is Zoom calls. The way of communication is Zoom calls, live streams, video, right? It's less of the in-person stuff and more of the digital stuff. So it's embracing that. It's embracing social media.
We've also seen so many Zoom meeting type memes go viral. Whether it's like a job interview and the awkwardness or the tension of that, it's very human.
Yeah.
And you're also getting those moments of like, a tough moment where Karen called out Sally and people, creating these skits. And again, it's moments we've all experienced in some sort of way when you're like, I shouldn't be in the room. Like, this feels too full of tension. And they're just playing on those moments that we all can relate to
100%.
heavily.
Yep, 100%. So he posts on his social media a Zoom call with a well-known marketing agency, and you've got all these different people from the marketing agency, and it's framed beautifully because you think you're getting a third-person view into a private Zoom call, right? It literally starts off, already they're going into this third-party access to what you think is a private Zoom call, right? Because they set the stage beautifully. Timothy's not on the call at the beginning, right? It's just the agency. And so they start, okay, so Timothy's going to be joining soon. Like, you're like, what the hell is going on here?
Is he actually going to?
So the authenticity of it comes through. So now when he does finally come through, and we won't go into too much of it, you can go and watch the call if you haven't seen it, but the beauty of the journey that you go down is that at all times throughout this call, you're constantly thinking to yourself, like, was this staged? You know what I mean? Like that, at least I do.
You're not 100% sure, especially because as well on things like YouTube, they've just used the file name, which is classic. It's like the accidental. This wasn't meant to go to YouTube, and it's now been published, and it was maybe supposed to be private or unlisted, and here it is with everyone now, millions of views on it.
It's just brilliant. And so Timothy takes them through this journey of like the old game versus new game. He even talks about the Oppenheimer versus Barbie situation, but they don't want to copy those sorts of things. They want to find their own inspo. So he looks at the orange from the film, and he talks about, we're going to paint the Statue of Liberty orange. We're going to get a blimp, and it's going to be all orange, and we're going to rain ping pong.
Pink. Yeah.
So it's brilliant. But the genius of it is that just sets the stage. Mm-hmm. The follow through is what's so magical, because now they have the blimp up there. Like, there's content of the blimp flying, and they're all so it's this beautiful through line that just keeps evolving at all times. And there's still, undoubtedly more things in the back pocket that's going to be kind of pulled out.
Absolutely.
But it's that through line that's so perfect.
Yep. And in this instance, the old game is that traditional marketing, traditional press tour, just traditional ads for the latest movie that's come out, which we're so burnt out by ads now that it just doesn't land in the same way. Every movie starts to look the same. Nothing feels exciting anymore, until, of course, you have something that kind of penetrates the feed like this, that feels so raw that you're like, wait, this has stopped me. Like you said, it's made me think, this is different, this is new, did they mean to do this? You have all these questions, which creates that curiosity, means you're going to stay to find out, or go do some research, right? See what articles are saying, and go see various platforms and how people are interacting with it.
Yep.
And that is the definition of the new game. It's completely taking that traditional marketing and going, that's not what works anymore. We're not going to try that. We don't need to. We're going to take this new route that speaks directly to the audience base that is going to go see this movie, because they're going to find this hella interesting.
100%. And the beauty of that, within that framework and within that approach, they're also defining an enemy. Right? And we love when you can define an enemy. And
So
sometimes
important.
it's the invisible enemy. Sometimes it's a very clear enemy that everybody, but at the end of the day, he even alludes to it in the call, where he says, like, traditional marketing is chic. We're not trying to be chic. Mm-hmm. We're not trying to be chic. Like, that's the enemy. Traditional marketing is now the enemy of their marketing campaign.
Yeah. And everyone can get behind that. As the audience, you want to get behind that.
Yeah.
You can all go against that.
And what that also does, and as we were saying at the beginning of this episode, is like, now you're bringing in people from so many different walks of life to be interested in this movie. It's not just film fanatics that are going to watch this movie now. Marketers are going to watch this movie, just because you've introduced them to the conversation.
Yeah.
So now, as digital marketers, we want to be a part of the conversation, because he's openly entering our space and saying, done are the old days, done with the old game. Traditional marketing is the enemy. And we're like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we want to be a part of that
We're in on
conversation.
that. We get that. Yep. And we also want to hear what's next.
Yes.
Yeah. If you think you know, let's hear it from you in an entertaining, engaging way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then it also comes back to our next framework, which is that break, shift, invite framework, which you see in all forms of media. But in this entire campaign, you see it.
Yeah.
You see them, break traditional media, those traditional patterns, then shift your perspective, and then invite you to participate. And that, we're going to take everyone through that journey now. But it's just such an incredible... it's such an incredible journey you take the audience on, where they really feel like they have a place to enter it, and reasons to keep interacting with the content.
Yeah, 100%. And so let's progress, because we'll keep the flow, because there's a lot to unpack here. So from their perspective, they're taking, and by there, I'm envisaging Timothée and his master plan of whoever it is that they have actually architected this with. I'm sure there's agencies involved, but the framework bleeds into content fundamentally, right? Like, we're talking about content at the end of the day, and then we're talking about the distribution. So the shift from that is then taking, let's just say, the Zoom call. We look at it as a 1:10:30, but the numbers aren't as important here. The fundamental understanding is that they've got a core piece of content, in this instance the Zoom call. From that, they're able to take bite-sized chunks. We would say that would be your 10, but these are distributed into shorts, snaps, people are distributing it for them, repurposing it, clipping it, packaging it. But it's, again, additional touch points into 30 different pieces thereafter. Podcasters talking about it on their podcast and taking snippets, carousels, highlights. I mean, I'm seeing this all across my feed as I'm scrolling, from carousel imagery to reels to you name it, stories, people talking about it. And so the distribution through that shift component, taking that core piece of content initially and then just amplifying it is, I mean, at this point, it's pretty nuclear. It's I don't know how else to describe it. It's massive.
Yeah, what I love is thinking about, because we're in this industry, you can imagine that 18-minute Zoom call is sitting on a slide deck somewhere, like where that was the powerhouse piece. They were like, we're going to build this around this Zoom meeting. But then we always have to think about if that's going to be the bonfire piece of content of the campaign, essentially the piece that gets people to stop, take a seat, get around it. There's got to be sparklers from that to bring people to that main bonfire piece, right? And so that's where you get into the short form. You get into the Instagram clips, the TikTok clips. And I love realizing in real time that you've just been hooked by one of those short forms. This happened to me. I was hooked by a couple of those Instagram posts to the point where I then went to the bonfire.
Yeah.
Then I went and watched the full Zoom meeting because I was like, this just keeps popping up. Everybody keeps talking about it, case in point. I need to now go see the thing that's, at the center of this all.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, the ultimate bonfire is the movie. That's where you're really going to go literally sit down and get around this. But in terms of the social media campaign, that's like the core idea.
100%, yeah. And so then moving us through, they're also pulling on all these different psychological levers within the marketing sort of tool set, right? So there's FOMO. I'll get into each of them specifically, but there's FOMO. There's exclusivity. There's the whole kind of borrowed brand equity, right? And so let's look at that. So borrowed brand equity. Let's introduce Kylie. Like millions, hundreds of millions, exactly.
Yeah.
So straight away you're leaning into that. But you also have Tyler the Creator, you have Gwyneth Paltrow, you have all of these different sort of borrowed audiences that are going to be tapping into this. And so that further amplifies it. They've created streetwear with the Marty Supreme, but they've dropped that streetwear.
Yeah.
But it's exclusive as hell, which is creating FOMO. So now
but
people...
They've also got it on people like Hailey Bieber. And it's like, and your Kendall Jenners. And of course, because that's like Kylie's best friends
network.
too. But also, Hailey Bieber is like the center of pop culture in terms of road and like what's fashionable. Literally streetwear. She is like, when even women think about like streetwear icons at the moment, it's Hailey Bieber. So it's all circling back.
Yeah. It makes you wonder if their relationship is an arranged thing. Like, I know that's crazy and that's out there, but I have heard of like celebrity culture where celebrities were like paired together for PR purposes. I'm not saying that was the case here, but it makes
loved
you
that
think.
They were this unlikely couple, but now they're like a powerhouse couple because they're supporting each other in these public, settings, and very much being that like, I'm going to ride for you and vice versa.
100%. Yeah, I have no business following Kylie. I don't follow Kylie. But when she's at the Knicks game with Timothée Chalamet, because I'm into basketball, and now I'm like, holy shit, Kylie's into the ball. Like, you're bringing these audiences all together, and it's like culminating in this final piece. So it's super, super cool to see.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's look at what else we've got here, because I know we're rounding this out. We've talked a lot about like the hook to series flywheel. So breaking down on the content journey, they've built out the Zoom video. They even built the blimp and created the content around it, flew it behind the actors and got all the content around it.
And then people are going to get out their phones and create their own content of that. Because how often do you see a blimp? Never mind to promote a movie that's already got this much noise
100%. And so orange becomes the visual... boom, because you see color first. We talk about that a lot. When you're driving down the highway and you see a billboard, you see color before you see anything else. That creates familiarization and familiarity. They did the merch drops. That builds the FOMO and the exclusivity like we talked about. And then, of course, the premiere being coordinated. I mean, Kylie and Timothée just showed up. I mean, I don't know if you saw, he's got like a custom ping pong paddle, like chrome heart, like ping pong paddle. So now, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but now the fashion industry is going crazy for it because they're turning up at premieres all decked out in orange, and you're just bringing everything together. It's if it wasn't, I mean, of course it was orchestrated. It just, you know what I mean? But like, you want to believe it wasn't. You want to believe it was all just this.
The beauty of it, they're doing it so well. If you even have the slight bit of doubt, it's a good thing. Even orange was smart too, because often we do associate, you know, a number of different colours with other things we know in the industry. I don't know what I think of when I think of orange. Hence, if I saw the blimp in the sky and I'd seen, you know, even Timothée and Kylie recently, I'm thinking of them and that's it. Nothing else comes to mind, which is so important for that brand recognition once again. You're just competing with a less noisy space.
100%. You've basically created your own lane, right? And that is the dream case, for the record, for any marketing campaign, product, brand. If you can create your own lane where there's just no other noise, you're not competing against anyone anymore. I mean, that is the definition of trying to create the invisible enemy, because once you've targeted that, you are literally in a category of one. Then it's just about communicating it. And you're absolutely right. If I think of orange, I don't know what else I relate that to. Right now, all I can think of is Marty Supreme.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of what they've been able to do in latching onto that. And obviously, when you're putting together your marketing campaign and you're looking at your messaging from a 30,000 foot view and you're saying, how are we going to market this movie, right? And you're in your initial brainstorming session. They didn't have to go down and say, orange, we're going to own orange. Someone consciously came up with that decision. Granted, in the movie, from what we gather, he speaks to it, you know, there was the white ping pong balls, then they lean into the orange ping pong balls. Cool. But I'm sure that's not the core premise of the movie, right? But they realized that we can use that. We can latch on to that. We can take that. And then leverage it further. And you're absolutely right. That then creates distinct memory patterns. And now you've got a memory structure that whenever anyone sees anything orange, they're probably thinking about going to see that movie.
Absolutely. And you said, you know, is this orchestrated? Is it not? We know it is. But at the end of the day, there's a system behind that, right? There's what they're posting daily to get that out there. Then there is like how that builds weekly. So you can't just throw everything at the audience at once. We notice how there's been, you know, select drops over time over different platforms, you know, even with the short form, followed up quite strategically so that people have enough time to be confused, to be curious. Like, don't give them it all at once. Like, seed it out, you know? And you've felt that, and then you've got a little bit more. It's even enough time for this whole rapper thing to actually eventuate. It's like, if we had all the answers from day one, the story would be boring.
It's so true.
But we hold on because there's that daily, weekly, monthly build. And that is the magic of these campaigns, is they are orchestrated in that very systematic way where the signals compound over time.
Yep, couldn't agree more. I think in closing, I'm going to watch the movie on Christmas Day. Let's start there.
I know you are, but this is a question I want to ask, and some people in the space are asking. It's a very elaborate campaign. Does it actually lead to the Bonfire, the movie, or is it so distracting that people don't actually end up going to the movie, especially with a Christmas Day drop?
Yeah, it's a really, I almost wish, well, maybe we do a follow-up. I was going to say, I wish we'd filmed this after the fact, but like, if I'm hedging my bet, I honestly think it is going to translate. I really do. But we will find out, and we'll probably do a recap. I'm genuinely curious. The reason that I think it will is that the hype, from what we can tell at least, is real. Like, if for the film fanatics out there, there are already people that have seen the movie, right? When these films premiere at like the awards, Sundance, etc., etc. So this film has been seen. So those critics that have seen it, I've seen these.
I read it was like 97% on.
They're like,
Tomatoes.
This is phenomenal.
Like career defining for Timothée.
That he should win awards for his performance alone. So if you're an acting fan, you're going to watch it. How can you not, based on that? If you're into fashion and it's everything we just talked to.
Yeah. You know what I think about as well is, at the end of the day, the signals that they are dropping through all of these short form pieces of content, the Zoom meeting, I imagine, or what I gather right now is that those signals very much translate to the movie.
Yeah.
And that connection is very important, I think, because sometimes you'll see this whole elaborate campaign that actually has very little to do with the nature of the movie. And then there's that disconnect because it's like, well, why would I? Even the Barbie Oppenheimer, you spoke to people and some people are like, yeah, I'm so aware of the Barbie Oppenheimer dynamic. Have I gone to see Oppenheimer? No. Do I know what it's about? No. Or, people that sit on either side, but they're not necessarily going to see both.
No, I don't know anyone personally that I actually didn't go and see Barbie. I happened to watch it on an aeroplane about a month ago, and it's been out for a long time.
But you heard a hell of a lot about it.
I heard a lot about it, but it wasn't enough to get me to go watch it because it was missing so many parts that this campaign actually fulfills. I.e., at no point was anyone saying during this pink revolution campaign that Barbie was doing that Margot Robbie just performed her heart out and you are going to watch an Oscar. So as a film fan, I was like, I'm not that fussed then. And so
but also how they were showing up on the carpet didn't give you enough of an indicator, apart from the colour pink, of what the movie was going to give you.
I didn't even know what it was about.
Yeah, but and we're even talking about this in the sense that when you're watching the Zoom meeting or the short form clips, you're getting a certain feeling that like we are trained to crave that feeling again, and then to go expect that we will get that feeling if we go see the film.
Yeah.
That didn't translate for Barbie,
No.
or I don't think for Oppenheimer either, in the sense that the interviews, the press tour that both casts gave didn't give you an idea of those types of feelings and emotions that you were going to get from going and watching the film.
Agreed. Yeah, it feels like these are great comparisons because it really does feel like Oppenheimer. You would go and watch that if you were a film fan. If you were really into like cinematography and gritty filmmaking and like this incredible moment in history, you're going to go watch that film. But you're not if you're into like fashion and culture and all the other stuff that was missed during the film, during the campaign, during all of that. Conversely, during Barbie, if you're into pop culture, if you're into fashion, if I imagine that spoke to you, that campaign. But again, it's a very niched audience, and typically we're about that life. Like, try and speak to everyone, you're speaking to no one. So it makes sense. But somehow, I feel like this campaign is damn near speaking to everyone and achieving it. And it's a lot of it is that borrowed equity. You've got the Haleys and the Kylies involved. You're speaking to the film audience. You're speaking to the cinema. Like, again, I could go on and on. But
I think you're right. By the way,
even from a cinematography,
I feel like I'm already late in the sense that I know people are booking those Christmas Day tickets.
I'm looking for even because he learned ping pong for 6 years. That gave the director the luxury of not having to cheat any of these games. These are one-shot rallies where he is doing the thing. This isn't like back for, missed it, sorry, reset. Like, no, he's doing like rallies, like intense, and they're shooting it all in one because they don't need to cheat it. There's no stunt double playing for him.
Yeah.
So even from a cinematography standpoint, you're like, I need to see this shit.
And you already know as well, Timothy's done some pretty pivotal speeches at award ceremonies that have then gone on to become memes and big moments because he's by nature going to be, we've heard about it, he's going to be put up for awards for this. So you're already like almost getting ahead of, I'm going to want to know why that was good.
Yeah.
I'm going to want to know where I would place my vote, have a say in that conversation, which you can already see is going to be at the very middle of like cultural rhetoric at that time.
100%. To quote Timothy from the Zoom, I believe we have been inceptioned. Marty Supreme. That was great.
That was awesome.
All right.
Nice
Cool.
stuff.